Test. People, how's it going? So today we are going to be working on a MacBook that, like many MacBooks that comes to this store, needs to be fixed. However, before we get to that MacBook that needs to be fixed, let's start off today with a slight announcement. Today we're going to be posting a position for a customer service representative. This is a 40-hour-a-week job. You'll be responding to tickets from people who want repairs. You'll be responding to tickets from people who want to know about items on our store, or where their stuff is in case we sent them the wrong item, or perhaps the item was lost by the post office. And you'll be responding to customers who, frankly, just need somebody to use as a punching bag or a piñata that day. But you'll have to deal with them in a manner where where they leave happy, but you let them know that you ain't their piñata. And there's also a lot of customers who are going to try as hard as they can at every single turn to trip you up, because they think if they trip you up, that's their in to getting their repair for free. It's hard because you want to make them happy, but you want to smack them on the nose when they say some shit that is kind of wise-ass to try to get something for nothing. But it is a job. And it's a job that if you know my email address, which is lewis@rossmangroup.com, if you can spell my name properly, you can email me about this job. I don't care about your education. I don't care if you don't have experience. I don't care if you barely graduated high school. What I care about is that you can demonstrate the ability to do the job properly. And if you can, you're hired. That being said, let's get started working on this MacBook Air. So here, we have a MacBook Air that needs to be fixed. This is an A1466 that's not turning on. Let's switch scenes, and HiHi did a pretty good job of making all these scenes that look very nice. I just had to reboot and everything, and we are set. Also, by the way, make sure you're in the New York City area. If you're not in New York, I can't hire you. If you're from another country and need to get to this country in order to apply for the job, figuring out how to get a visa and all that stuff, that's on you. I'd highly suggest that you only apply for this job if you're within the New York City local area. Back to work. Everybody say a grand thank you to HiHi for fixing up all of my scenes. HiHi fixed up my scenes, and they look great. Thank you very much, HiHi. I just made a new profile and re-imported your scenes into that profile and started from scratch. HiHi did a great job of cleaning up the cancer in my Open Broadcaster scenes, but there was also quite a bit of cancer in the Open Broadcaster profile that had to be cleaned up as well. HiHi, I'm proud of HiHi. As all of you know who've been following for a while, I've been trying to hire HiHi since 2017, and we finally got a HiHi. Everybody give a round of applause to HiHi. First thing we're going to do with this MacBook is we're going to unplug the battery. Because remember, when the battery is plugged in, we're not going to be able to get a proper reading from our power supply as to how much this is taking. So the motherboard appears to be taking 20 milliamps and not turning on. That's what I see on my power supply. And by the way, we are working on getting it set up so that you can see the power supply on the screen again. Circuit Specialist reached out interested in sponsoring the stream, and they wanted to send us a power supply. And Circuit Specialist is one of those companies that, unlike 99.999% of the trash, garbage, awful shit that people email me asking to shill, actually makes good products that I was using for several years before I ever got an offer from them from a sponsor. So thank you very much to Circuit Specialist for sending me an email about sponsoring the stream and not being some random company that makes shitty Android apps or something. Geraldo says thanks, HiHi. Thank you to Geraldo, and again, thank you, HiHi. So this board is most likely missing PM Sleep S4L, like most boards that are only taking 20 milliamps. So we are going to take this board out of the case and go from there. Yeah, Circuit Specialist is the first company that's ever contacted me for any sort of sponsorship thing that actually makes a product that's not a piece of shit. That's not something where I would just be ashamed to associate it with me. Josiah says dead CPU. You pessimistic bastard. Get the fuck out of my store. Josiah. Anybody else who thinks this is a dead CPU? Thank you very much, 808 Craig. That's very kind of you. Yeah, they make bench power supplies and all sorts of little tools for people to do the type of stuff that I do. And now, why are you tossing those in the trash when we have a perfectly good Zamo? There is a perfectly good Zamo that we're going to set up here, and you're going to be using right on Paul's desk. Justin Millman is here. How's it going, Justin Millman? Hey, come here. You're still here. Wow. Are you telling Steve every time you stay after 8? Because if you... No. So I have... How many times have you done that so I can add it to the overtime? Okay. I'll assume every day for the past 2 weeks or something.
That obliges me to stay for 2 weeks more than.
Do not CSAT me.
No, but we're just hanging out. He's doing his first SMC. I'm teaching him. You know, like
And Nell's doing an SMC or?
No, Chris.
Oh.
He's fine. We bowled the first one perfectly, and it sat the right way. But now we.
Oh, thank you, MBS Frenchie. Yeah, that's.
Clock chip's dead.
Oh, yeah. Boo.
Hopefully, PM3 comes back.
Yeah, I have a 20 milliamp one here as well.
Nice.
Thank you, MBS Frenchie. I'm planning on doing an abridged version of that video that's probably 30 to 90 seconds long, just to get the point across. Alright, so this board is entirely 110% clean, not a spot or speck of corrosion on it, which means, most likely, that... means most likely a dead CPU. Was Kevin promoted or fired? Kevin is going to be getting one of those promotions where he teaches the new guy how to do his job so that he can get the promotion. So once we hire the new person and they're taught entirely how to do Kevin's job, Kevin will be receiving a promotion. I don't see any drop frames, so if it's buffering, it's probably on you, or YouTube, or Twitch. Let's take a couple of measurements on this MacBook Air. We're going to turn on our multimeter. Turn on Paul Daniels' excellent software. Turn on Paul Daniels' excellent software. Turn on Paul Daniels' excellent software. Actually, this has nothing to do with Paul Daniels' software. This is Hi not adding the multimeter as a scene. Oh, Hi. Really? There we go. Let's see. Does the button at least work? Son of a fucking... Okay. Let's set the multimeter button to work. Title, hotkey, Shift F24. Let's see. How many scenes is multimeter on? Multimeter is... Okay, multimeter's on this one. Multimeter's on this one. Multimeter's done on... I don't need the multimeter on camcorder. Yeah, that's a waste. All right, fuck it. I shouldn't yell at Hi-Hi for that. Hi-Hi's. He's did a really good job. All right, so multimeter. The first thing we're going to check and see is if our PP bus is present. I sent you an email about eBay and PayPal and larger concerns. eBay supervisor weren't aware of PayPal fee changes as of May 4th. Only option is PayPal on eBay. Yeah, I haven't got... I got the email. It's just since I had already done the video at that point, it kind of got put on the back burner. Okay. Now, it looks like we have 8.6 volts on this side of the fuse for PP bus, and 0 volts on this side of the fuse for PP bus. So, let's go over why it is I chose to take a look at that rail first. So, as you all know, there's... get the multimeter off here. As you know, there are different power rails in the system, and they come on in a different order. First, you have the G3 hot rails, rails that should always be on. S5, rails that are on when the machine's off. S4, rails that are on when it's hibernating. S3, rails that are on when it's sleeping, when you close the lid. And SO, rails that are going to be on when the machine is on. So, let's say PP bus G3 hot, that's a rail that has always got to be on. That's the rail, you know, that's just battery existing. The battery's always going to be on. However, something like the screen backlight, that's going to be an SO rail, or a CPU V-core, because you don't need CPU V-core to be on. CPU V-core does not have to be on if there's if the machine is closed and suspend. Hello, Rob Brown. Hopefully he did. So we're going to open up the schematic and the board view for the 820-00165. Everybody say thank you very much to Hi-Hi in the chat for reorganizing my scenes to make all of this stuff that much easier. Say thank you to Hi-Hi. Now, there's going to be a list of power rails, and if we go to page 60-something, because this is where Apple used to have this in the beginning, but it's the most important page, so of course we're going to change it to page 65, because Apple. Now, PP3V42 is the first rail that's got to be present, because that's the rail that allows the charger to speak to the SMC. The PP3V42 is the rail that powers both the SMC chip and the circuitry that allows the SMC to speak to the charger. The problem is, I mean, not the problem. Thing is, this has a light, which means that that's already present. I know that's present. So if I go back to my rails over here, the next rail I'm going to check is my PP bus. And PP bus G3 hot is going to be the rail that makes everything else in the machine. That's 8.6 volts. Glad I was able to inform you. Most PayPal sellers don't. Don't what? Thank you very much, Frenchie. Now, PP bus G3 hot is going to be over here. This page creates the PP bus. Now, on this side of the fuse over here, we measured 8 volts, but on the other 8.6 volts. But on the other side of that fuse, we measured 0. Is my fuse for PP bus blown? One way to find out. By the way, Hi-Hi, do me a favor, and can you put on that to-do list on the Google Keep in your login to find a better overhead cam mount? This is actually way better than it was before, but I'd still like to get something that's a little more stable for zooming. Well, I gotta say, this is better than it was before. I don't know if that's just placebo. Probably placebo, because it's shaking. Okay, the fuse is dead. Now, I'm not just going to replace the fuse. That would be a noob thing to do. What we have to do is figure out why the fuse blew. So on the side that's making 8 volts, and we're not short-circuited there. But on the side that's with the fuse that's blown, 9 ohm short to ground. So most likely there's a short to ground on PP/G3 hot, and that short to ground on PP/G3 hot is keeping this from working. Now there were three things I could do here actually. Behind door number 1, I could inject voltage into the board and then find the short circuit using a thermal camera that costs $900. Behind door number 2, I could inject voltage into the board, and then after that I could find the short by pouring alcohol on it, which is going to fizz away real quick. Behind door number 3, I could just look over the board with a microscope and go from there. By the way, one of the things that I've been telling you all for a while is that I really like this specific microscope that I have over here. It's an old model from 2005 because of the specific mount that it has. This thing over here. I've yet to find a microscope that can fit this. So they still sell you this thing over here. They still sell this, but this piece over here screws into a certain hole in the microscope, and I can't find microscopes anymore that fit this. I've only been able to find the ones that have the really long tube. And the really long tube, it's not good for image quality. It has a lot of vignetting and chromatic abrasion. It's awful. So I had to wind up switching back to this one after getting a new microscope. And one of the things that I am excited about is that I found the company that makes these microscopes for Omano and Amscope. I found the OEM, and I was able to ask them, can you find me the one that actually has the good cameras thing? And I explained it in detail, and they said yes. So we're going to be selling those on store.rossmangroup.com soon. This also helps me appease my guilt for the fact that I have Amazon affiliate links. I would like to distance myself and my revenue streams from Amazon as much as humanly possible. I'm not going to give up the money that Amazon gives me because I'm at a pivotal point in my business. Chase, no bank is going to invest in this place. No company is going to sponsor this YouTube stream. Maybe Circuit Specialists. We'll see if they get back to me. But the revenue streams that I get during these pivotal points where I need to double or quadruple staff or buy new stuff or move to new spaces, I ain't going to say no if they're there. But I would like to wean myself off of them. So one of the best sellers in that list used to be Ultrasonics. I'm selling those locally. Used to be Quicks. We're selling those locally. Now the best seller on that list are these microscopes. So I would like to sell these. Instead of having the Amscope or Omano brand name written on them, there's going to be a Rossmann brand name written on them. And I'd like to sell them with the same camera mount that you see me using so that when you buy it, rather than getting that garbage one from Amazon that has the long tube and that won't fit accept anything besides the long tube, you'll get something that accepts my short tube. So everybody else is going to offer you a long tube, but I'm going to offer you the short tube. But even though my tube is shorter, it's a tube of quality. I've been trying to sell women on that for the last 15 years. I've gotten nowhere. But maybe, just maybe, I can sell some of you on that. Anyway, that being said, let's look over it with the microscope. So do be on the lookout for a video comparing and contrasting the very, very shitty microscope mounts that are available elsewhere with the mounts you'll be able to get from store.rossmangroup.com shortly. Okay, we're going to take a look over this board and see if we can find a cracked capacitor. Let's see if there's a crack in the capacitor. What a MacBook with a fuse blown. I feel faint. Imagine how Paul feels. Audio is out of sync. Well, there's not much I can do about that now, unfortunately. I'm sorry. We're in the middle of the stream. But when I upload this to YouTube, it will be fine. Yep, so Paul, that's the thing. I've tried the microscope, this little tube over here that you see, it won't fit onto the other microscopes. And I can't rip this thing off and put it on there because the trinocular port entirely is different. I've tried. Like aberration. Chromatic aberration is what he means. Yes. Abrasion. Yes, I'm dumb. I'm not a photographer. Do you think I'm a photographer? Look at the white balance on this. It's trash. You know what I mean, though. It looks like shit. I'll just keep it simple next time. Look like shit. My point being, you're getting away from the point. Accept my short tube. You want my short tube. Don't go for somebody else's long tube. Short tube. Let's focus on what really matters here. Okay. Anyway. It's not about the height of the tube. It's about how you use it. Damn effing straight. Focus on my tube, because if you get a longer tube, it won't be in focus. Okay, enough of that. Someone says only a thermal camera will do here. I'm going to prove you wrong just because, my friend. All right, what do you all observe over here? What do you observe? Restream chat appears to be broken, so I'm going to have to reopen it. I missed 2 minutes of chat. There's new short tubes will be available as soon as the microscope arrives and I confirm that it's good, and then, yeah, I have no idea how long it takes for them to ship stuff, unfortunately. They'll be available as soon as they get here. Oh. Alright, so let's see if that's the cause of our problem. Let's unscrew the SSD because I don't want to heat up their data. Remember, if you heat up the SSD, it's going to start clicking. And I don't want the drive to click. It's very bad when you have a clicking hard drive, so I always make sure if I'm working on a MacBook Air and I'm going to do any soldering on the board, I typically try to take the hard drive out of it because if I get heat on it, then it's going to start clicking. You definitely don't want to deal with the heads rubbing or anything like that, because then you'll get platter damage. Alright, so we're going to remove that capacitor. You didn't tell us what was wrong. Yes, I did. You're just not paying attention, my friend. Pay attention. See that? Look at that capacitor. No good. Now, if we take a look on the schematic in the board view, you'll notice that that little capacitor has one end on ground and one end on PP-Bus S5 high-side computing iSense. PP-Bus S5 high-side computing iSense. Wonder where that comes from. Wonder where that comes from. Wonder what creates that. Let's see. N is for next item. How do you go to previous? This software says N is for next, but how do you do previous? Okay, on Paul Daniels' software it says hit N for next, but what if I just skipped over it and I want to go previous? P, 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 P. Uh-oh. Now I rotated it. Uh-oh. I have no idea what the fuck I did to make that happen. Alright. Close you. Open PDF again. Okay. Let's try this again. I guess there's no previous. Paul Daniels' software is just like real life. You can always go forward, you can never go back in time. Damn it. Okay, we hit P for previous. P. Okay, we'll just go next over and over again until... Here we go. So the rail that cap is on is PP-Bus HS5 high-side computing iSense. Now that is directly created from PP-G3 hot, which is A, the rail that is short-circuited, and B, the rail that has a blown fuse on its creation circuit. So I'm fairly certain that this is going to be what's wrong with it. We're going to replace those capacitors and see where it gets us. We have our fume extractor on. Let's see if our short circuit has gone away. Our short circuit is still there. Perhaps that was not the blown capacitor. What if it was the one next to it? We still have a short. Okay, this is not going to be an easy one. We might actually have to inject voltage. Dare I say it, put a little bit of work in. That's no fun. I would recommend a ThinkPad P50 MacBook. ThinkPad P50 is the MacBook I would recommend. I don't know, 13-inch 2013 Retina. You don't have the broken track. You don't have the trackpad cables that randomly die on that. You don't have a GPU to worry about dying. And you also don't have to deal with the shit that the 2015-16 A1502s have, where the fan random only turns on at 70 to 80 Celsius. Yeah, A1502 2013-14 is what I'd say get. And you could also get it for some cheap money at that point. All right. It should be obvious in a minute what part of this board is burned up. Does Lewis only read chat? This chat or only super chats? Lewis reads nothing. I put no value on your chat or your input as a human being. I am just a pure asshole. No. I read the chat when I'm not looking in the microscope and when Restream is not freezing. So what Restream does, well, check this out. This is Restream. So sometimes this scrolls as you type stuff, and sometimes it just stops scrolling. And even if you hit new messages, it just stops loading new stuff. You will not donate $20 if you read that. You don't get paid enough for that. But yeah, and when it stops scrolling, I don't notice that it stops scrolling for a while, then I don't see anything. Huh? No, I'm good. Thanks. Also, I went to public school in New York City, so I can't read. I'm incapable of reading. By the way, a very large thank you to the individual that sent me this watermelon kombucha. We're going to heat this up a little bit. He said he went to school during the pre de Blasio era. So why is the same song looping? And now, why are you giving me the money that I give you back? Further, you're giving me that money. At the very least, you could just tell me cut an hour, half an hour, or an hour of your pay, rather than doing that, because you're giving me that money back pre-tax. Not only are you giving me back the money that I pay you after tax, you're then paying it back to me where I have to pay taxes on it after YouTube has taken 30% of it. That's not very efficient, Anel. You should just keep your own money. But if you absolutely don't want to get paid for shit, you can just tell me. And we'll arrange for that. Okay. I think we've had enough time to see what is getting warm on here. See you later. Thanks for everything. See you. Good night, Kevin. Don't hit your head. Ooh. Focus, you bastard. Yes. So it's you. All right, let's get it. Okay, it looks like it's no longer taking voltage. Amperage, I mean, not voltage. I'm being dumb. So we are going to replace that capacitor. And then this will be a happy little board again. And we're going to put back the caps that I removed because I'm an idiot. And I removed the cap with the solder blob next to it, even though the cap with the solder blob next to it wasn't the cap that was at fault. I'm a bad technician. By the way, out of curiosity, do you guys hear me or do you hear music? I'm just curious. Do you hear me and music or just me? I'm kind of trying to test how this open broadcaster setup works. Okay, so then this is doing its job. Someone says, I hear rapid cool technology. Indeed, we make use of rapid cool technology here at Rossman Repair. Good ear, my friend. It's kind of hard to fit an iron in there. Now we're going to put back the capacitors that were actually good the whole time, that Lewis blamed because Lewis is an idiot. Admittedly, I should have put less solder on the pads, but it's too late for that now. Now we gotta replace that fuse. A lot of people the other day were saying I did not give the hot tweezers a fair chance because when I used the iron, I also replaced the old solder, and I used a lot of flux. But as you can see, it is miserable to try to take things off with this. Not a big tweezers fan myself. I will use hot air. Okay. Now this is a really nasty, crusty, whatever the hell that's on the side. So let's try and get rid of all the solder that was already on that fuse from me removing it from the donor board. We're just going to remove all the junk. You guys ready to watch the fan spin? First thing we're going to do is get this thing rapid cooled. Using patent pending rapid cool technology. Only available on your board if you get it fixed on rossmangroup.com. Who won the drinking contest from the weekend? We tried to do the drinking contest and stream it, and the internet died 4 times in a row, and then we gave up. Sorry to everybody who was expecting a drinking contest. Unfortunately, we have Time Warner. Alright, I think we're at a point where I can plug this in and see if we get a fan spin. As you can see, as we all knew and expected, we have a fan spin. So the problem with this board is that PP-Bush G3 Hot was kind of sort of present. So PP-Bush G3 Hot is technically measured after the fuse that sits between the creation circuit for PP-Bush G3 Hot and the system is there. So let me just show you what I mean by that, because I actually forgot what I was saying in the middle of that sentence. Because my memory has not what it used to be. I am getting old. Fixing Apple products ages you quicker, you know. It's like cat ears. So if we take a look on the schematic and board view, you'll see that PP-Bush G3 Hot was 0. Right behind the fuse, when we measured over here, it was giving us a happy, pappy 8.6 volts. So the fuse was blown. But the real issue is what blew the fuse. You have to figure out what blew the fuse. So we injected some voltage into there, and we found out that this capacitor, C7371, died. This poor little cap. This cap is not on PP bus. This cap is not on the PP bus. This cap is on a different rail called PP bus S5 high side computing iSense. And if we look through the board view and schematic for that rail, you'll see that it's created after coming out of this current sensing resistor over here. If you don't know what current sensing resistors are, you could see any one of the videos I've done on current sensing before. You'll see that that comes from PP-Bush G3 Hot. Now, I originally got fooled because typically the set of capacitors that fails on this board is usually one of the capacitors that's over here. and one of the capacitors over there had a solder ball next to it. So I figured that that capacitor had failed. However, that was actually a decoy. What it actually failed are one of the caps over here. And when I injected voltage, it was very easy to tell because as soon as I put a little bit of alcohol over here, nothing, alcohol over here, that one went tss and sizzled. Now we have replaced that capacitor. And after replacing that capacitor, this board that the Genius Bar would have been happy to build a customer 754 or just send off to a junkyard somewhere or send off to that little shitty-ass robot, what is his name, Liam or whatever, to just take apart and throw away, is now back to the customer. Fixed. Lisa Jackson would have you think that, well, if you're a repair person, of course you think repair is the solution to problems when items don't work. Of course repair is the problem when an item doesn't work if you're just a silly repair shop. I'm confident that Lisa Jackson knows better. I believe that as the head of sustainability and social, environmental, whatever for Apple, that she would have a better solution to make this device do what it's supposed to for the customer other than repair it. I'm more than happy to hear her input in the comment section on just what exactly that would be. I am a repair person. I am a pleb. And just as when you're a hammer, you think everything's a nail. When you're a repair person, you think every board with its pee-pee bus short to ground just needs a capacitor replaced on it, rather than you just buying a new one. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something.